Welcome to InfoStream, your daily current. Unsure what to listen to? Turn to us for today's headlines. Stay informed. Iran-US tensions persist despite diplomatic deadlock. Israel expands its strategic presence with a Lebanon seizure. A Colombian runoff election alters US relations. A deadly explosion in Myanmar claims over 45 lives. CNN focuses on Ebola research and precautions. Local efforts involve water collection and Iran's missile recovery. Taiwan highlights manufacturing innovation at an Expo. Platner's controversy impacts a Maine Senate bill. Trump's second term faces significant challenges. Supreme Court documents reveal details of the Cheney case. Shapiro faces scrutiny in the political landscape. The U.S. job market exhibits a skills gap. Biden provides an update on cancer treatment and California's social media rules. An ex-spokesman claims a recent interview damaged credibility. An officer was fired for assaulting a woman. Iran rebuilds its missile arsenal. Iran-US tensions remain high amidst diplomatic stalemate, despite a temporary ceasefire. Tensions persist between Iran and the United States, complicated by stalled diplomatic efforts to end the ongoing conflict. Following reported missile launches, Iran's message to the U.S. reflects deep distrust, with Iranian officials asserting they will not agree to any deal without guaranteeing Iranian rights. Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf warned that any agreement hinges on securing Iranian rights, highlighting significant disagreements between the two sides. Ongoing negotiations, involving frequent amendments and no finalized agreement, remain fraught with difficulty. A tougher new framework proposed by President Trump, aimed at preventing Iran from developing nuclear weapons and reopening the Strait of Hormuz, has further complicated the situation. Iran's insistence on releasing $12 billion in frozen assets before substantive talks continues, dismissing Trump's assertions regarding uranium stockpile destruction. Simultaneously, Iran is exploring alternative strategies, including a plan for management and sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz, potentially imposing administrative fees. Military activity remains sporadic, with Iran shooting down a U.S. military drone near its territorial waters, though the U.S. has not confirmed the incident. Analysis of satellite imagery reveals Iran's ability to excavate 50 out of 69 tunnel entrances previously targeted by U.S. strikes, demonstrating continued missile capabilities. While daily strikes have ceased since the April ceasefire, tensions remain high. The conflict extends beyond the immediate Iran-US relationship, particularly in Lebanon. Beirut is urging a swift and real ceasefire, amid intensified Israeli operations, including the capture of the strategic Beaufort Castle. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu views the capture as a significant shift in policy. Hezbollah condemns the actions, accusing Israel of a scorched earth policy. The UN Security Council is scheduled to hold an emergency meeting regarding the escalating situation. The ongoing disputes over the Strait of Hormuz and the Lebanese conflict underscore the complex and deeply entrenched nature of the crisis. Israel's strategic expansion, seizure of Crusader Castle in Lebanon. Recent developments highlight a complex and evolving geopolitical landscape, primarily centered around Israeli military actions in Lebanon, and a surprising resurgence of Iran's missile capabilities. CNN's report details Israel's recent seizure of a significant Crusader-era castle located in southern Lebanon, a move that underscores Israel's continued assertiveness in the region and raises concerns about escalating tensions. The castle, dating back to the medieval period, represents a symbolic and potentially strategically valuable target for Israel, indicating a deliberate effort to maintain a strong military presence near Lebanon's border. This action is part of a broader Israeli strategy aimed at deterring Hezbollah and projecting power within the country. Meanwhile, analysis of new satellite imagery, conducted by CNN, reveals a troubling trend. Iran is actively rebuilding its missile arsenal within its underground facilities. This directly contradicts President Trump's assertions of having completely destroyed Tehran's missile capabilities during the recent military campaign. The imagery demonstrates a significant increase in the number of missiles and associated equipment within these concealed locations. While the Pentagon maintains that the strikes were successful in damaging Iran's missile infrastructure, the satellite data suggests a rapid recovery and expansion of the Iranian missile program. The implications of this resurgence are considerable, potentially impacting regional stability and complicating diplomatic efforts. The conflicting reports Israel's military expansion and Iran's rebuilding of its missile capacity paint a picture of a dynamic and unpredictable Middle East, demanding careful observation and strategic assessment. The situation highlights the difficulty of definitively gauging the effectiveness of military interventions and the resilience of adversaries in the face of perceived threats. The Colombian presidency goes to runoff election redefining U.S. relations. A surprising outcome of the first round of Colombia's presidential election has set the stage for a June 21st runoff between right-wing candidate Abelardo de la Espriella and leftist candidate Senator Ivan Cepeda. With 43.74% and 40.90% of the vote respectively, they emerged from a field of candidates, marking a significant shift in Colombia's political landscape and potentially reshaping its relationships with key international partners, particularly the United States. The election's outcome hinges on a stark contrast in political visions. De la Espriella, a lawyer and political outsider, has positioned himself as a conservative nationalist, advocating for a tougher stance against criminal organizations, stronger security ties with the US and Israel, lower taxes, and increased oil exploration. He has expressed favorable views towards former President Donald Trump and has pledged to reverse what he perceives as the failures of President Gustavo Petro's administration. Cepeda, representing the historic PAC coalition, seeks to continue many of Petro's progressive policies, including the total peace strategy aimed at negotiating with armed groups and fostering social inclusion, human rights, and agrarian reform. He frames the election as a choice between preserving reforms and returning to traditional models. Gustavo Petro, Colombia's current president, who is constitutionally barred from seeking re-election, initially rejected the preliminary results and awaits final vote counts. The election is viewed as a verdict on Petro's turbulent presidency, which began in 2022, and on Colombia's future political and economic model. Key concerns include heightened political violence, rising criminal gang activity, and the ongoing drug trade, which remains a central axis of the bilateral relationship with the United States. The drug trade and migration flows are central to the U.S.-Colombia relationship. The runoff election will significantly influence Colombia's relationship with the United States, with candidates offering differing approaches, closer alignment with Washington on security and economic issues, versus a more independent foreign policy and greater Latin American integration. The US's stance on trade, counter-narcotics funding, and migration flows will be crucial factors. The election's outcome is being closely watched in Washington, given Colombia's strategic role in combating drug trafficking and managing migration across the hemisphere. Massive explosion in Myanmar kills over 45, injures dozens. A devastating explosion in Kontop village, Namkham Township, northeastern Myanmar, has resulted in the deaths of over 45 people, including 6 children, and left dozens more injured. The blast occurred at a building reportedly storing explosives intended for mining operations, a key activity overseen by the Taang National Liberation Army, TNLAF, an ethnic armed group controlling the area since late 2023. Initial reports indicate that TNLI's economic department utilized gelignite, a common explosive, for mining and stone quarrying. Rescue efforts, ongoing as of Sunday evening, have recovered 46 bodies, which are being prepared for cremation. 74 injured individuals have been transported to the township hospital. Furthermore, approximately 40 people were killed, and more than 100 houses near the blast site sustained significant damage. Myanmar media outlets, including Shui Phi Maye, have reported death tolls ranging from 50 to 55. The explosion's cause is currently under investigation by the TNLA, who have acknowledged storing gelignite. The TNLA is a member of the Three Brotherhood Alliance and has been engaged in sporadic fighting with Myanmar's central government. A ceasefire agreement brokered by China in October last year remains fragile, and tensions persist. Myanmar has been embroiled in conflict since the military seized power in February 2021, leading to widespread opposition and armed resistance. The ongoing instability has resulted in numerous clashes between various armed groups and the military. The affected area is approximately 3 kilometers south of the Chinese border. Local authorities are providing relief, medical care, and resettlement assistance to the displaced residents. The situation remains highly volatile, and this is a developing story with ongoing updates expected. CNN's visit to Ebola ward highlights ongoing precautions and research efforts. CNN recently conducted a visit to the Ebola Treatment Center in Monrovia, Liberia, providing a rare glimpse into the ongoing efforts to combat the virus and bolster preparedness for future outbreaks. The visit, led by CNN correspondent Kimiana Mitchell, focused on the facility's operations and the critical role it plays in containing the spread of the deadly disease. The purpose of the visit was to demonstrate continued international support and to highlight the advancements made in treatment protocols and patient care. The Ebola Treatment Center, established in 2014 during the West Africa Ebola epidemic, remains a vital resource for treating patients and conducting research into the virus. The visit showcased the facility's stringent infection control measures, including dedicated isolation units, specialized personal protective equipment, and rigorous screening procedures for staff and patients. CNN reporters interviewed medical staff, including doctors and nurses, detailing the challenges they face and the innovative techniques employed to minimize the risk of transmission. Furthermore, the visit emphasized the importance of international collaboration in addressing infectious diseases. Representatives from the World Health Organization, WHO, and various international aid organizations were present, coordinating efforts and providing logistical support. The facility is currently involved in research aimed at developing new treatments and vaccines, recognizing the potential for future Ebola outbreaks and the need for rapid response capabilities. The visit underscored the commitment to learning from past experiences and strengthening global health security. The continued operation of the center represents a sustained investment in preparedness and a testament to the resilience of the Liberian healthcare system. Local water collection and Iran's missile recovery. Recent events in India and Iran highlight contrasting situations involving resource scarcity and strategic military capabilities. In India, reports detail a desperate and increasingly common practice among local communities to access water, specifically by scaling the walls of dry wells. Driven by severe drought conditions and depleted groundwater reserves, residents are risking their lives to manually retrieve water, a stark illustration of the escalating water crisis gripping several regions of the country. This perilous activity underscores the urgent need for sustainable water management strategies and investment in alternative water sources. The scale of this phenomenon reflects a growing humanitarian concern, with thousands of individuals undertaking this dangerous task daily. Meanwhile, satellite imagery analysis conducted by CNN reveals a significant shift in Iran's missile capabilities. Newly acquired data indicates that the country is regaining access to substantial quantities of missiles, previously hidden within its underground facilities. This directly contradicts earlier assertions made by President Trump regarding the complete destruction of Iran's missile arsenal following a series of U.S.-led strikes. The Pentagon maintains its stance, asserting the effectiveness of the campaign in disrupting Iranian military operations. The CNN analysis, supported by expert commentary from Thomas Bordox, suggests a more nuanced picture than initially presented. The recovery of these missiles raises questions about the long-term impact of the strikes, and potentially signals a resurgence in Iran's offensive capabilities. The situation highlights the complexities of geopolitical strategy and the difficulty of achieving decisive outcomes in protracted conflicts. The conflicting reports necessitate a careful reassessment of the situation and a deeper understanding of Iran's strategic priorities. Taiwan Excellence showcases manufacturing innovation at Manufacturing Expo 2026. Taiwan Excellence is returning to Thailand to demonstrate cutting-edge manufacturing solutions at the Manufacturing Expo 2026, scheduled for June 17, 2026 at Butikai Bangna. The Taiwan Excellence Pavilions, a booth AF11, Hall 98 will feature 17 award-winning Taiwanese companies, showcasing innovations under the theme Adaptive by Nature, Precision by Design. This initiative highlights Taiwan's strengths in smart manufacturing, precision engineering, and integrated industrial innovation, aiming to improve manufacturing flexibility, efficiency, and automation capabilities. The pavilion is structured into 3 distinct zones. The Industrial Automation and Intelligent Computing Zone will showcase AEO's Edge AI computing solutions, enabling real-time data processing and image analysis for enhanced automation. The Smart Fluid and Energy Solutions Zone will present ASMA's superior efficiency chemical pumps, alongside PNET Technologies' industrial networking solutions, including a 5G NR cellular wireless gateway and industrial managed Ethernet switch, bolstering EOT infrastructure. Finally, the Industrial Materials and Key Components Zone will feature MUAL-RAS PMP's multistage centrifugal pumps, ensuring reliable high-pressure water delivery. Established in 1993 by Taiwan's Ministry of Economic Affairs, MOEA, the Taiwan Excellence Awards recognize exceptional companies based on research and development, design quality, and marketing. The awards reflect Taiwan's commitment to technological advancement and innovation within the manufacturing sector. Visitors are encouraged to meet industry experts and explore technologies designed to elevate manufacturing capabilities. The Taiwan Excellence Pavilion represents a significant opportunity to discover how Taiwanese technologies are shaping the future of global manufacturing. For further information, visit http:// Taiwan Excellence, or again, or follow updates at http:// Facebook, Taiwan Excellence, TH. Platner's controversy threatens Maine Democratic Senate bid. The Democratic Senate candidate in Maine, Graham Platner, is facing significant challenges due to revelations of extramarital sexting, adding to a string of previous controversies that could jeopardize his chances in the June 9th primary against incumbent Sen. Susan Collins. Senator Cory Booker expressed concerns regarding Platner, emphasizing the need for the candidate to address these issues. Platner's wife, Amy Gertner, released a statement expressing deep hurt and accusing a former campaign official of betrayal after details of her husband's messages to other women surfaced, prompting a New York Times and Wall Street Journal report. Platner's campaign has been marked by a series of problematic revelations, including a tattoo resembling a Nazi symbol, which he subsequently covered, and prior online comments denigrating police and white people. Despite these issues, Platner has maintained a strong lead in recent polling, bolstered by large rally crowds and endorsements from prominent Democrats like Elizabeth Warren and Ruben Gallego. Genevieve McDonald, a former political director for Platner's campaign, confirmed that Gertner disclosed the sexting to campaign staff last year, initially assessing it as a political liability. CNN has verified the existence of a Kik account under the username Fussover331, linked to Platner, featuring a shirtless profile photo and similar handles on deleted Reddit and Instagram accounts. While CNN has not independently confirmed the text messages, the emergence of this information has intensified scrutiny. Senator Andy Kim of New Jersey, while not expressing explicit concern, stated his commitment to working with the person Maine voters elect. Senator Chris Murphy offered a contrasting perspective, highlighting a significant difference between Platner and Collins, framing Platner as protecting Donald Trump's corruption. Despite the controversies, Platner led Collins by 9 points in a University of New Hampshire poll. The campaign has faced previous criticism regarding Platner's past statements, including labeling himself a communist and dismissing police as bastards, which he subsequently disavowed. The situation underscores the difficulties Democrats face in regaining control of the Senate, compounded by the ongoing challenges surrounding Platner's candidacy. Trump's second term faces mounting challenges. President Donald Trump's second term is encountering significant obstacles across multiple fronts, signaling a period of potential political instability. His efforts to secure an Iran peace deal remain elusive, despite widespread American opposition and Trump's optimistic pronouncements. Following a revised draft rejection, Trump insisted on stricter language regarding the U.S. desire for Iran to renounce nuclear weapons and reopen the Strait of Hormuz, further complicating negotiations. The ongoing war, fueled by Iranian drone attacks and strategic closures, continues to exert pressure, though Iran's resilience suggests a desire for a permanent resolution. Domestically, a $1.776 billion anti-weaponization fund, intended to compensate supporters convicted in the January 6 Capitol riot, has triggered a Republican Senate rebellion ahead of the midterm elections. This move highlights the president's divisive style and its impact on party unity, contributing to the derailment of an immigration enforcement bill. Furthermore, Trump's attempts to assert control over national commemorations, particularly the 250th anniversary of American independence, have sparked controversy. His efforts to rename the Kennedy Center and establish a massive mega rally have been met with artist boycotts and accusations of political manipulation, demonstrating a disregard for unifying national moments. The president's pursuit of personal power, evident in initiatives like adding his name to money and passports, is creating friction with congressional Republicans, particularly as his focus shifts away from key priorities. The construction of a White House East Wing ballroom and a large UFC arena on the South Lawn, alongside plans for a massive arch near the Potomac River, raise concerns about an overreach of presidential authority. Republican lawmakers are increasingly wary of Trump's agenda, evidenced by the Senate's rejection of the immigration bill and the challenges posed by senators like Bill Cassidy, John Cornyn, and Tom Tillis. This internal Republican discord, coupled with the ongoing Iran war and the contentious celebrations, paints a picture of a president struggling to maintain control and influence, potentially jeopardizing his second term. The GOP's struggle to balance appeasing his base with broader electorate concerns is a key factor shaping the political landscape. Supreme Court's role in Cheney case revealed through confidential documents. A recently released collection of confidential Supreme Court documents illuminates Justice Antonin Scalia's pivotal role in the controversial case, involving then Vice President Dick Cheney and his Energy Task Force. The case, centered around the task force's recommendations to open federal lands to oil and gas drilling, initially faced rejection by the court, but was ultimately taken up by Scalia, significantly altering its trajectory. Prior to the case's hearing, Scalia actively sought reconsideration of the appeal, writing memos to his colleagues urging intervention. He argued that the lower courts were inappropriately limiting the executive branch's authority and jeopardizing the president's ability to protect internal affairs. Scalia's actions were concealed from the public at the time, generating considerable controversy, particularly following his duck hunting trip with Cheney, just 3 weeks after the court announced its intention to hear the case. The Sierra Club, challenging the task force's actions, formally requested Scalia's recusal, highlighting the potential conflict of interest. Scalia responded with a 21-page statement, incorporating anecdotes about his interactions with Justice William Douglas and his personal hunting experiences, vehemently denying any impropriety. He framed the situation as a test of the nation's confidence in the integrity of the justices. Despite initial divisions within the court, Scalia's persistent advocacy led to a 7-2 vote to send the case back to the lower courts for reconsideration. Justice Kennedy, writing for the majority, emphasized the importance of safeguarding the executive branch's autonomy and confidentiality. Justice Thomas joined the ruling, advocating for a complete reversal of the lower court's decision. Justices Ginsburg and Souter dissented, arguing that the court was overstepping its bounds, and that the lower courts were appropriately concerned about the scope of the discovery process. Ultimately, the Supreme Court's intervention, spearheaded by Scalia, resulted in the disclosure of key information about the task force's meetings with industry executives, though the full extent of the revelations remained obscured for several years. The case underscored the delicate balance between judicial review and the separation of powers, and highlighted the potential for personal relationships and vacation activities to raise ethical questions within the court. The controversy surrounding Scalia's involvement continues to be a subject of discussion regarding judicial ethics and the influence of individual justices on Supreme Court decisions. Josh Shapiro navigates political complexities amidst national scrutiny. Josh Shapiro, Pennsylvania's governor, is confronting persistent questions regarding his Jewish faith and his stance on Israel, navigating a politically complex landscape as he seeks re-election and contemplates future presidential aspirations. Despite efforts to focus on his state's priorities, Shapiro finds himself repeatedly drawn into national debates, particularly concerning his views on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. His approach involves directly addressing criticisms, asserting his position as grounded in reality and tolerance, rejecting accusations of anti-Semitism stemming from his brief role at the Israeli embassy. He argues that his perspective reflects the values of Pennsylvania, a crucial swing state, and emphasizes a desire for peace and two-state solutions. Shapiro's campaign strategy centers on securing victories in 4 Republican congressional districts, a key initiative spearheaded by Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, and recruiting candidates like Janelle Stelson and Bob Brooks. He leverages his endorsements to bolster these campaigns and aims to capitalize on any momentum generated by his re-election. Despite his efforts, Shapiro faces skepticism from some within the Democratic Party, particularly in the state's more progressive areas, such as Philadelphia, where voters express a desire for more radical change than Shapiro's centrist approach offers. This sentiment is amplified by figures like State Rep. Chris Rabb, who views Shapiro as prioritizing political expediency over moral principles. The ongoing scrutiny extends to Shapiro's personal life, including his wife's upbringing in Bucks County and his past statements regarding the September 11th attacks. His willingness to engage directly with criticism, while occasionally generating controversy, is seen as a deliberate strategy to shape the narrative and demonstrate his authenticity. Furthermore, Shapiro is actively challenging what he perceives as corruption within the federal government, specifically referencing the Justice Department's actions regarding former President Donald Trump's financial dealings. He intends to utilize state courts to address these issues, aiming to establish a clear precedent for accountability. Shapiro's supporters, including progressive state Sen. Vincent Hughes and numerous social media creators, recognize his efforts to unify the state's diverse electorate and generate a strong base for his re-election. Despite the challenges, Shapiro remains focused on achieving tangible results and solidifying his position as a key figure in national politics. America's job market, a disconnect between numbers and experience, and despite positive employment figures, many Americans are struggling to find work, highlighting a significant disconnect between official job market data and individual experiences. The unemployment rate sits at 4.3%, with job gains exceeding expectations, yet a substantial number of job seekers report difficulty securing positions. Several factors contribute to this challenge, including artificial intelligence, federal workforce reductions, and the impact of advanced degrees. The rise of AI tools is intensifying competition by enabling candidates to submit large numbers of tailored applications, overwhelming hiring systems. Simultaneously, significant cuts within the federal government, totaling nearly 350,000 positions as of April, have flooded the job market with displaced workers, particularly impacting state and local government roles. The White House asserts a shift towards a private sector-focused economic agenda. Furthermore, advanced degrees, once considered a career advantage, are now proving less effective. LinkedIn data reveals that advanced degree holders are experiencing particularly challenging hiring times, partly due to increased competition and slowed hiring demand in sectors like tech and finance, where companies are citing AI-driven productivity gains as justification for workforce reductions. Older workers face additional hurdles. Laid-off individuals aged 45 to 54 are experiencing longer periods of unemployment, averaging 30.7 weeks compared to 27.1 weeks 4 years ago. This is compounded by the increased hoops required for job applications. The influx of federal workers seeking employment in the private sector further exacerbates the situation. Sophie Durai, a UC Berkeley graduate, exemplifies this struggle, having difficulty securing roles after previously targeting public sector positions. Job openings are concentrated in healthcare and transportation, sectors resistant to automation. However, many individuals are not seeking roles in these areas, and the rapid growth in these fields is unlikely to be sustainable. Ultimately, the current job market presents a complex landscape, where positive economic indicators do not necessarily translate into opportunities for all job seekers. The combination of technological advancements, governmental restructuring, and evolving educational trends is creating a challenging environment for those navigating the labor market. Biden's cancer update and California's social media restrictions. First Lady Jill Biden recently provided an update on President Joe Biden's cancer treatment, reporting that he is feeling good and continuing to make steady progress. Speaking with CNN's Alex Michelson, Mrs. Biden indicated that the president is doing really well and remains focused on his duties. While details regarding the specific type of cancer or the intensity of his treatment were not disclosed, she emphasized his resilience and determination. The update comes amidst ongoing scrutiny of the president's health and his ability to fulfill his role as commander-in-chief. It represents a positive sign for the administration and offers reassurance to the public regarding his well-being. Separately, California has enacted a significant new law aimed at protecting teenagers from the potential harms of social media. The state legislature unanimously passed a bill that imposes restrictions on social media platforms' ability to access users under the age of 16. The legislation, championed by Assemblymember Josh Lowenthal, seeks to prevent these platforms from exploiting young users. The bill specifically targets apps with features deemed harmful, though the precise definition of harmful remains somewhat ambiguous. The core of the law is designed to limit social media's access to minors, reflecting growing concerns about the negative impacts of social media on adolescent mental health and well-being. The bill's passage underscores a broader trend of states considering measures to regulate the use of social media by young people. The law's effectiveness and potential legal challenges remain to be seen, but it represents a notable step in addressing the complex issues surrounding social media's influence on the next generation. The legislation highlights a growing awareness of the risks associated with young people's engagement with these platforms. Ex-Biden spokesman attributes recent interview to credibility damage. A former spokesperson for Jill Biden has voiced concerns regarding the impact of her recent interview with CBS Mornings, asserting that it has significantly eroded her public credibility. The comments, made in a CNN article, stem from a critical assessment of Biden's responses to questions about her past experiences and relationships. The spokesperson, who wished to remain anonymous, argued that Biden's somewhat evasive and occasionally contradictory answers created an impression of a lack of transparency and honesty, qualities previously associated with her public persona. Specifically, the individual highlighted instances where Biden appeared to shift her narrative or provide ambiguous responses, suggesting a deliberate attempt to avoid direct engagement with potentially uncomfortable topics. This, the spokesperson believes, has fueled speculation about Biden's authenticity and trustworthiness, particularly amongst viewers who were expecting a more straightforward and consistent account of her life. The interview centered around Biden's career as an educator, her relationships with family members, and her experiences navigating the pressures of the First Lady role. While the spokesperson acknowledged Biden's efforts to present a relatable and down-to-earth image, they maintained that the overall effect was detrimental to her carefully cultivated image as a genuine and approachable figure. The anonymous source emphasized the importance of consistency in messaging and the potential damage caused by perceived inconsistencies in a high-profile public role, ultimately suggesting a strategic misstep in Biden's public relations strategy. Officer fired after punching woman repeatedly. Iran reestablishes missile arsenal. A North Carolina police officer, Carson Hyder, has been fired after security camera footage revealed him repeatedly punching a black woman during an arrest, sparking widespread protests and calls for accountability. The incident, involving Hyder's forceful actions against a 34-year-old woman with mental health issues, has raised serious concerns about police brutality and racial bias. The woman sustained injuries including a broken nose, black eyes, and a cut lip, and is undergoing concussion testing. The incident has fueled existing tensions surrounding police conduct and sparked renewed scrutiny of law enforcement practices within the state. Legal proceedings are underway, with the woman charged with breaking and entering, resisting a public officer, and assault on a government official or employee. Meanwhile, satellite imagery analyzed by CNN indicates that Iran is rebuilding its missile arsenal following a series of U.S. military strikes in 2018. Despite President Trump's assertions that the strikes had effectively eliminated Iran's missile capabilities, new data reveals a significant resurgence in the production and storage of missiles within Iranian underground facilities. This contradicts previous claims and highlights the ongoing challenge of monitoring and controlling Iran's nuclear program. The Pentagon maintains that the initial strikes were successful in degrading Iran's missile capabilities, but the recent satellite imagery suggests a more complex and protracted situation. CNN's Tamara Chublawi provided analysis from Thomas Bordox on the unfolding developments. The situation underscores the difficulty of definitively assessing the impact of military interventions and the need for continuous vigilance in monitoring geopolitical hotspots.